Welcome to the 15th episode of the Grand Cosmic Story. Can Darwin's theory through the unguided mechanism of random mutation and natural selection explain the fantastic complexity of living cells? How does such complexity like a human eye come into existence? Can the unguided processes mimic the powers of a designing intelligence?
Are you curious about the world around you? Do you wonder what else is out there beyond our world? Dr. Latha Christie, a scientist and an author, will take you on a journey through the universe. Join her in exploring the universe through her web series, The Grand Cosmic Story. Stay tuned to find out what today's episode is all about.
The human body is complex and amazing. You and I are made of about 40 trillion cells that comprise every part of our complex human anatomy. But at conception, you are only a single-celled embryo. Each cell of yours has an astonishing number of intricate parts, way more than any car you want to purchase. Within that single cell is the DNA molecule that holds the genetic code for the construction of you. A gene is a short section of DNA that codes for a specific protein. Genes influence what we look like on the outside and how we work on the inside. The gene transmits its influence from parent to offspring so that you probably look a bit like other members of your family. For example, have you been told that you have your mother's eyes or your grandmother's nose? The sequences of bases stored in the genes determine what the living creature will be. DNA determines that mice look like mice, humans look like humans, and bacteria look like bacteria. Since the 1980s, scientists and engineers started to realize the mechanical marvels in the human body and have found that nothing we humans have ever built even comes close to such biological marvels in our body. So, an engineering called biomimetics is now making breakthroughs by mimicking biology. Let me give you a few examples. Studying the eyes of flies helped in the development of advanced optical sensors. Studying the physics of dragonfly wings led to the increase in the efficiency of wind turbines. A honeybee algorithm helped to optimize the internet. And the tiny plant hopper that can launch like a rocket and can jump more than 100 times its body length has helped the scientists to maximize the strength and rotation of gears precisely. Recently, molecular biologists have identified many mysterious complex systems inside our human body, and they found that they possess two types of complexities: specified complexity and irreducible complexity. Molecular biologists, beginning with Francis Crick, equated information not only with complexity but also with specificity, where specificity meant necessary to function. The biological information stored in DNA and proteins possesses not just complexity but a high degree of specificity relative to the maintenance of cellular function. Mathematical biologists have realized that Shannon's theory could be applied to the analysis of DNA and proteins to measure the information carrying capacity of these macromolecules. DNA contains the assembly instructions for building proteins, and it conveys information via specifically arranged sequences of nucleotide bases. The base sequences in the coding regions of DNA are both highly complex and specified. Bill Gates said DNA is similar to a software program, and many others have compared it to a human language because of its ability to store information content both complex and specified. Just as the human computer code enables sophisticated and mechanical robots to perform important jobs, the written code in our DNA provides instructions about how we will grow and the functions of our bodies. Where does this information come from? The origin of information requires an intelligent source pointing to an intelligent designer behind the information carrying capacity of the DNA. The second type of complexity is irreducible complexity. One of the extraordinary discoveries of the last 30 years in biology is the discovery of nanotechnology miniature machines inside cells. Inside every cell is a bustling operation of interconnected molecular machinery that is so sophisticated it would put any modern high-tech factory to shame. You will be amazed if you can gaze at these miniature machines inside your cells. The intricate machinery is what gives the cell its remarkable ability to process energy, execute genetic instructions, and replicate, all with unbelievable efficiency. Even in one-celled organisms like simple bacteria, we find such exquisite machinery. Biochemist Michael Behe, in his book Darwin's Black Box, writes about such irreducibly complex molecular machines, especially about one of those machines called the bacterial flagellar motor. Some bacteria have a flagellum like an outboard motor on a boat. The flagellum rotates to propel the bacteria through the liquid as it swims or searches for food. This extraordinary little flagellum is a rotary engine and it turns at the speed of 100,000 RPM. The flagellum has several parts: a drive shaft, a universal joint, rotor bushings, a stator, a clutch, and a braking system. Even if you take one part, the whole thing would not function. These molecular machines function like any other machine with several different parts performing different roles, and they are all needed for the machine to work. Behe compares it to a mousetrap which has 5 parts: the platform, the spring, the hammer, the holding bar, and the catch. The mousetrap doesn't work if you reduce the number of parts from 5 to 4. In the same way, removing even one component of this elegant flagellum destroys its function and renders the bacterium useless. Every part is essential to its function, and this is called the irreducible complexity. Straubel defines irreducible complexity as a system that has a number of different components that all work together to accomplish the task of the system, and if you were to remove one of the components, the system would no longer function. The wings of birds are irreducibly complex. Without a perfect design, wings cannot function. For flight, wings need to be strongly attached and strong enough to support the bird in the air. The human eye consists of complicated parts such as a retina, a lens, muscles, jelly, and so on, which should be at the right size and shape to allow vision. For vision to occur, many different proteins and systems would have to be developed and to be present together. Damage one part, detach the retina for instance, and blindness can follow. In fact, the eye functions only if the parts are of the right size and shape to work with one another. After proposing his theory, Charles Darwin spent many years methodically compiling evidence for evolution, since he anticipated many arguments, and the greatest of all was how his method of gradualism could produce complex structures in our bodies. The evolutionary path from the eye of a simple organism to the human eye cannot plausibly be explained by undirected evolution, because the eyes of various creatures are totally different. While earthworms and sea urchins do not have eyes, caterpillars and starfish have simple flat eye spots. The human eye uses only one lens and retina, but in contrast, the eye of a fly has thousands of tiny columns and each one sees a tiny part of its overall field of vision. In other words, it's not clear that a half-evolved version of them would actually have the survival benefit that is required for evolution to happen. That is why the supposed explanations of the evolution of complex features based on Darwinism fall mostly on the side of imagination rather than empirical evidence and thoughtful analysis. Also, the minimum waiting time required for such undirected evolutionary transformations, such as the development of the camera eye, is much longer. A question arises. What is the origin of such biological information necessary to generate form and structure at levels higher than the present ones? And what is the origin of the specified complexity that characterizes new genes, proteins, cell types, and body plans of every new species? Darwin himself confessed that it was absurd to propose that the human eye evolved through spontaneous mutation and natural selection, as he could not see a path to the evolution of complexity. In his book, he writes that this idea seems absurd in the highest possible degree. He also wrote if it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, my theory would absolutely break down. Paul Davies said, living organisms are mysterious not for their complexity but for their tightly specified complexity. There are limitless examples of mechanisms that are both precise and purposeful, remarkably configured and beautifully functional in living things, which are extremely unlikely to have been built piece by piece through Darwinian processes. William Paley, an Anglican priest and one of the most influential English authors of the time, made a similar argument in the early 19th century in his book Natural Theology. Someone who finds a rock can easily imagine how wind and rain shaped it, but someone who finds a pocket watch lying on the ground instantly knows that it was not formed by natural processes. Living organisms are so much more complicated than watches. That's why Paley writes, the marks of design are too strong to be got over. Chance and blind processes of gradualism through natural selection and random mutations cannot adequately account for such wonderful complexities. Also, designers often reuse basic designs that work with slight variations. When you want to buy cars, you can find many variants of cars built upon a similar body design with slight variations and differences. This could be one of the reasons that most living organisms possess certain similar morphological features and genetic features. Such high complexity and specification invariably points to an intelligent designer and not chance. Chance events cannot produce irreducibly complex systems because such features are known to have been intelligently designed. The irreducibly complex systems like the optical precision of an eye, the little spinning motors that propel bacteria, and the cascade of proteins that cause the blood clotting give us evidence that all the parts are formed intentionally with the end purpose in mind, not randomly over time. The purposeful and the intricate arrangements of parts give us evidence that a mind was at work. They possess a distinctive hallmark or signature of intelligence pointing to the hand of a higher being at work in the world. If you ever happen to travel to Mount Rushmore National Memorial in the hills of South Dakota, US, you can see the large-scale mountain sculpture by artist Gutzon Borglum. The artist has engraved the figures of America's most prominent US presidents George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt. If someone asks you how all these figures came about, You will never say that it was formed accidentally through gradual, random erosion by wind and rain, because the engravings would immediately point to the fact that it was purposefully designed with an intention behind the work. In the same way, natural processes cannot explain the origin of biological systems, since these systems manifest the distinctive hallmarks of intelligently designed systems. The specified and irreducible complexity possesses features of an intelligent cause, as only a purposeful and intelligent design can leave behind such signatures. The amazing biological systems in our human body and in the life around us far exceed the capacity of human technology, pointing towards a transcendent creator, since such irreducibly complex systems are strong evidence of a purposeful, intentional design by an intelligent agent. An intelligent creator can use natural processes to bring about his creations, or he can create it instantly. Just like the universe can be either 13 billion years old as per the scientific data, or it can be much less than that.
You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for you created all things, and by your will they exist and were created.
Bye for now. See you soon in the next episode to find out what sparked the Cambrian explosion, the sudden appearance of life in all periods of our Earth's history.